Have you ever imagined eating a free meal inside a Buddhist temple in China? Today I'm going to try something I've never experienced before, a traditional vegetarian meal called Jai Fan inside a Buddhist temple in Beijing. This isn't a restaurant, it's not a tourist attraction, and you can only get this meal on certain days. So today I'm taking you with me to find out what does temple food in China actually taste like and why do so many people come here? Before coming here, I did some research online. I found out that this kind of vegetarian meal is not available every day. At Guangji Temple, it is usually served on special days according to the Chinese lunar calendar, such as the 1st and the 15th day of each month. Growing up in China, I had seen temples many times, but I had never actually eaten a meal inside one. When I was younger, I learned about different religions and cultures from people around me. My first experience inside a religious place was actually a church when I was a child. One of my classmates came from a Catholic family, and one day I followed her to church. At that time, I didn't really understand what was happening. I just watched everyone around me. They were quietly saying prayers, but I didn't know exactly what they were saying. I simply followed along and copied what they did. That was probably my first time realizing that different people have different ways of finding peace and meaning in life. As I grew older, I gradually learned more about different traditions, including Buddhism and Taoism. But there was always one thing I had never tried: eating a meal inside a Buddhist temple. And because I'm currently unemployed, I have a lot more free time now. So I finally have the chance to experience it myself and make up for something I had always wanted to try, but never had the opportunity to do before. Guangji Temple is located in Xicheng District, one of the central areas of Beijing from where I live. It takes about an hour by subway and bus. Alright, enough talking. I'm already almost at Guangji Temple. Before coming here, I did some research online. Guangji Temple doesn't charge an entrance fee. There is no ticket booth. You can simply walk inside. I arrived a little after 11 a.m. Before coming here. I was a little worried that I might miss it. But as soon as I entered the temple, I realized I didn't need to worry. There was already a long line. I counted around 5 or 6 rows of people waiting patiently. Everyone was moving forward slowly and in an orderly way. Among the people waiting, many were Buddhist believers. You could easily recognize them. Some had their hands together. Some were quietly chanting prayers. Some brought fruit or other offerings. There were also many young people, and then there were people like me, people who were simply curious. I wondered how many others came here for the same reason. Not because they were looking for something specific, but because they wanted to experience something they had never done before. Maybe my foodie side was showing. The line moved surprisingly fast. After waiting for about 20 minutes, it was finally my turn. The people serving the food were volunteers. Many of them come here regularly to help. They don't just serve meals. They also help maintain order, clean the temple, take care of animals living around the temple grounds, and sometimes introduce visitors to Buddhist culture. For many people, volunteering here is a way to find peace and do something meaningful. Finally, I got my meal. I received a bowl of rice and several vegetable dishes. Some people before me got noodles instead. Apparently, the temple serves rice and noodles at a different time, depending on what is available. The meal was very simple. There was no fancy decoration, no special presentation. Just ordinary plant-based food. I had rice, tofu, potatoes, vermicelli noodles, wood ear mushrooms, shiitake mushrooms, and cabbage. Everything was completely vegetarian. Alright, let's try it. Honestly, it was better than I expected. The food itself was simple, but eating it inside the temple made the experience feel different. I didn't sit down to eat. I was standing there while having my meal surrounded by people who came here for different reasons. Some came because of their beliefs, some came out of curiosity, and some, like me, just wanted to experience something new. With the ancient buildings around me and the smell of incense in the air, the whole experience felt surprisingly peaceful. Maybe food really does taste different depending on where you eat it. After finishing my meal, I went to throw away my container and then I noticed something. The volunteers were handing out fruit, so of course I had to get one. I also heard that soup was served later, but I was already full, so I decided to save some room for exploring the temple. After eating, I finally started walking around the Guangji Temple. The temple has a history of more than 1,000 years. Although it was destroyed and rebuilt several times throughout history, it still keeps the traditional layout of a Chinese Buddhist temple. Walking through the halls, I saw many people coming here to pray. Some lit incense, some put their hands together quietly, some knelt in front of Buddha statues. Everyone seemed to have their own hopes and wishes. Maybe they were praying for family, maybe for health, maybe for a better future. I don't know what they wished for, but I hope their wishes come true. As I walked through the temple, watching the incense smoke slowly rise into the air, I felt something I didn't expect, a sense of calm. Life in Beijing can be stressful. There are always deadlines, competition, and worries about the future, but inside this temple, everything seemed to slow down. For a short moment, I wasn't thinking about work, money, or problems. I was just there. After walking around for a while, I started feeling hungry again. Maybe it was the walking, maybe it was the temple food, so I decided to find a small snack nearby. It wasn't really lunchtime yet, and I wasn't hungry enough for a full meal. So I found a small shop selling something called bing, a type of traditional Chinese flatbread. I bought two, one sweet, one savory. The total cost was only 4 yuan. Maybe because this area is in central Beijing, the price was slightly higher. Where I live, I think two of these would probably cost around 3 yuan. Anyway, let's try them. The outside was crispy, inside there were many thin layers. The texture was actually really nice, but there was one problem. It was extremely easy to make a mess while eating it. The crumbs were everywhere, and I felt like people around me were looking at me. Maybe because I was standing on the street eating a flatbread. Or maybe I was just imagining it. Either way, I didn't care. It was delicious. After one piece, I was full. So I saved the other one for dinner. And that was my little adventure today. I came to Guangji Temple expecting only to try a free vegetarian meal. But I ended up experiencing something much more than food. I saw how tradition, faith, and everyday life come together in modern Beijing. Sometimes the most interesting experiences are not famous tourist attractions. Sometimes they are simple things hidden in everyday life. Thank you for spending this day with me. I'll see you in the next video.